Hello, and welcome to The People's AI, presented by Vana. I'm your host, Jeff Wilser, and today we are taking a deep dive into the world of Data DAOs, projects that are racing to empower you and your data, and to reward you when your data is used to train AI. And growing this ecosystem of Data DAOs, of course, is the mission of Vana, my partner for this podcast. Vana's vision is user-owned data, which helps create user-owned AI. Vana is building the world's first open protocol for data sovereignty. So what does that actually mean? Well, essentially, all of us have all kinds of data we never really think about. Not just the obvious stuff, like our emails or credit card info, or even our browsing history. But we might have health data that's tracked by our iPhone. When we post funny comments on Reddit, that is our data. I wear an Aura ring to track my sleep. That is valuable data. If you have a Roomba vacuum cleaner, that is literally hoovering up data about your floor plan. Now, this kind of data has always been valuable. Just ask Mark Zuckerberg. But data is now more than just valuable. It is mission critical to building AI. Every company building AI is thirsty for data, good, high quality data. And the more niche and custom, the better, as that helps give an edge against the competition. Now, historically, the way AI has been trained basically is companies just pretty much scrape and leech the data, and let's generously call that a legal gray area at best. But here is where the idea of Data DAOs come in. Let's say you drive a Tesla, and your car is constantly creating all of this data about your battery use and performance and diagnostics. That data is super valuable and you own it, but right now there's not much you can really do with it. It's hard for you to monetize it. You can't just take your dashboard of your Tesla and go to OpenAI and say, hey, you want to train AI with this? Here's my data. Like, they laugh at you. But a new Data DAO called DLP Labs lets you join effectively a data union. And you basically get compensated for your data in the form of crypto. Down the road, that data could be used to help train AI, and if it does, you'll be rewarded. This is not just a theory. DLP Labs recently launched, and within days, they had thousands of new members. As we speak, the members of DLP Labs are generating data from their cars, and they are earning rewards. So today on the pod, we'll be speaking with the founder of DLP Labs, Ryan Kuhel. That is just one example. There are many more. There's a Data DAO called Asterisk that's all about women's health data. Now, historically, in the world of healthcare science, women have been underrepresented in many clinical studies and trials. Their data, in other words, was excluded from the research, leading to treatments and conclusions that were biased towards men. Asterisk DAO is working to help bring richer, better, more complete women's health data into the fold. Once again, members get compensated for sharing their data, and that data can be used by scientists and eventually to help build better, more inclusive AI. And this is all done in a way that preserves privacy. So today, we are also speaking with the founder of Asterisk DAO, Veronica Kirin. There are many, many other data DAOs out there, from Reddit data to Amazon order history data to genetic data. But these are just two examples. But I think they give some good perspective on different possibilities. So I was delighted to explore these two different use cases, the world of women's health data and then car data. We'll first hear from Veronica Kirin on Asterisk DAO, and then nerd out on the explosive growth of car data with Ryan Kuhel, the founder of DLP Labs. So let's get into it. Please enjoy my first conversation with Veronica Kirin, the founder of Asterisk DAO. Veronica, welcome to The People's AI.
Hello. It's nice to see you again, Jeff. And of course, love the name. Let's do this.
Thank you. So excited. And I mean, you've been part of this. You and Vana have been part of this. So for listeners, we met months ago in Thailand at the DevCon conference and talked all about Data DAOs at Vana. So Veronica, share a bit with the audience what you shared with me back then in Bangkok. Tell me about Asterisk DAO and what you guys are all about and what your mission is.
Yeah, I mean, I love being able to say like, oh, I met you in Thailand. Like, life is so fun.
It's my humble brag of the morning right there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I'm quite passionate about what we're doing at Asterisk. So Asterisk DAO, or Asterisk Women's Health, was founded with the idea in mind of catching up to men's health. So if we imagine that like Western medicine is about 500 years old, give or take, and then women basically have been systematically left out of clinical trials and research for most of that time. Just culturally, it used to not be the norm to have women involved. And then we all know that Marie Curie even had to fight for her Nobel Prize. And then just it still went on though. So as recent as 1993, women were still banned from clinical trials in the United States. And
Wild. 93. They were
1993 is when they overturned that and mandated. So it was when Congress mandated that women be involved. But from 1977 to 1993, women were properly banned of reproductive age, which was like a big chunk of the female population. And that was during the time that most of our drugs and modalities were developed as well. Yeah. So it's just like the consequences are enormous. I love what these other organizations are doing. Like Melinda Gates Foundation Melinda Gates herself is working to fund women's health research. And like, she's the big wig. Like she says, I'm funding this sector, boom, it's happening. But the problem is, again, if you imagine men's health as a car on the road, it's 500 years ahead. So if we get the women's car on the road now with funding, like that's really great, but it doesn't really help us catch up. And we have to do some rapid movement in order to catch up. So that's why we're a data DAO. We're talking about what's a data DAO, what's a data liquidity pool. So that's why we're so focused on data and working directly with women to really understand what their reality is, not what doctors think it is, because doctors have been operating on the same paradigm for 500 years. So it's a whole thing. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it, and it goes far and wide.
Yeah, I so appreciate that kind of sharing, that kind of North Star, what you guys are all about. With that in mind, let's get in a little more specific. I believe that you mentioned, let me know if I'm wrong on this, that you want to also focus on not like to the extent that women's health data has been measured and folded into the corpus of medical information, it tends to be all about reproduction, right? And so you want to say, well, actually, women have lives and bodies that are not just about reproduction, right?
Shocking.
And so
insanity.
So there's a focus on data that's beyond the scope of reproduction. A, am I getting that right? And B, talk a bit about what types of data that is in your scope and kind of how this actually works with Data DAO.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. Yeah, we're specifically going for non-reproductive health, which it boggles the mind that I have to say that. As opposed to women's health is all women's health, and then reproductive health would be a subset, like men's health and then reproductive health. So I have to say non-reproductive health, reason being that, as I mentioned, women have been left out of the equation so long that we're twice as likely to die of a heart attack from men. But like, do you know what a woman's heart attack symptoms look like? They're different from yours.
I do not.
And doctors don't know that. And so then it's like it's nausea, it's back pain, it's fatigue. Women think they're just having a really bad time with their period or with menopause. And then all of a sudden they're in the hospital, and the mind boggles. So the statistics are like that. It's just we're using the wrong data because it just wasn't measured on women's bodies. And so no shade, no shame. We're going to fix it. So non-reproductive health for us is basically everything besides the two organs that are focused on reproduction. And what that looks like is identifying what disorders women have. And we're especially interested in the disorders that bias towards women or are female exclusive. So like premenstrual dysphoric disorder is not reproductive related. It's hormonal related, but it's not reproductive related. It doesn't affect your ability to conceive. But it is female exclusive. Men don't have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, right? It's on the tin. But at the same time, OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder, biases towards women 2 to 1 to men. So it's not female exclusive, but postpartum OCD is female exclusive. So there's subsets that are, and then there's these biases. Of course, the one that people like to throw around is fibromyalgia is 80% female, right? So like we have these big heavy hitters. So that's what we're focused on. And the collection is direct from women, as I mentioned, and as you implied, because we want to make sure we get as unbiased experiences as possible. So we're looking at their experiences day to day with the disorders as well as with medications, because we're also missing that in the pharmaceutical area. And again, like we're not assigning blame. We're just saying, okay, we can do better. Let's make it easier for researchers to understand what outcomes are on the long term. So this is longitudinal data as well.
Cool. Thank you for that. And just to kind of baseline and make sure I'm understanding this correctly, and for listeners, is the kind of big picture idea that all people, women and all people really, we have this data, this health data that our doctors might or might not be aware of. And by using this DAO framework, and we can get into in a minute what this looks like, and by using tokens to say, hey, you who have in this, and I'm still curious about exactly what is it like a data from our Apple Health? Is it like a report we get from our doctor? Is it our Aura Ring data? I'm still curious of what exactly the data looks like, but we all have this data that currently is not really properly connected into the medical studies, into the healthcare system. And this DAO will let, if there's one person has this data, well, that's useless, right? But if 20 million people have this, or even 20,000, it's probably big enough for a health study. If 20,000 people, 20,000 women have this data that's, you mentioned longitudinal, they can track over time, that normally doctors would not have access to. But by the virtue of kind of privacy preserving cryptography of blockchain and DAO, so cool, I will get compensated in a form of, I'm guessing, a token to share this data, this health data, in a privacy preserving way. And suddenly these 20,000 women who've all shared their data, that is now a useful pool for analysis. And they can say, okay, actually now we can have a test panel A versus test panel B, and we can help understand these health issues better in ways in the past we could not, and that will actually create more insights and better health outcomes for women. Am I kind of summarizing the big picture?
Yeah, you're getting there. Yeah. So just to your point, if I have one data point on my Apple Watch for one day, it doesn't really make a difference to me. I don't understand my life better just for having seen what I did today. But what I've seen over the past quarter, right? If I'm like working out and I'm trying to like hit a certain milestone, then I start to get really excited. And so this podcast is about AI. So one of the things we're delivering to our participants is personalized trends over time. So the app first, just to get to market, right? So like we go for MVP, most trimmed down version. It feels a typical daily check-in app. So women are used to checking in with a menstrual app, or with like How We Feel, which was developed by Harvard during the pandemic, just to say, this is going on in my life. So it's another app that's asking you, how are you feeling, coupled with their static profile, which is age, ethnicity, location, disorders, symptoms, all these things. So together, how I'm doing today, plus these are the disorders, and then clinicians can sort for, I want women between the ages of 32 and 45, located in South Africa, who have never been pregnant. Now clinicians can get really granular with the data. And then again, it's longitudinal like that. And then on a personal level, yes. So AI, personalized trends, and as well as the token. So the token, for me, okay, it's a token. You can trade it if you really want to. But for me, what's really exciting about the tokenization is that it gives me another piece of the North Star: women voting on their healthcare for the first time in history. I want to knock that one out of the park as very best as we can. Eventually wearables will be involved. That's like phase 3 of our master plan. But so that's where we're at right now, and that's what it'll look like.
Amazing. And just to connect, and thank you for bringing AI back into this, to connect the dots here, is the idea that the data that is being collected will ultimately help train better, more personalized, and more representative AI, right? Because we all know that one current problem of AI is that it's often trained on data sets that skew Northern American white male, right? And so by having women contribute data, it helps train and create AI that is more representative of what the world looks like. Am I getting that right?
Yes. So great, like, you're so smart, Jeff. But
I just try and listen to
like
you here. So yes,
it's like you know about things. Yeah. So our primary customers are clinicians and researchers, but one of our secondary customers are AI LLM organizations. Just for that reason, they skew male and they're starved for data. So we solve two of their problems at the same time by giving them access to this data. Hopefully, of course, our own AI will also grow and improve and evolve, and so that like our participants will have a better time all the time. But then another way we're using AI is that we have kind of like, so again, primary market clinicians, researchers, secondary markets AI, but also journalists like yourself, governments, NGOs, femtech founders who are also starved for data to prove their model. It's so often that women know a situation is real within our population, and yet we can't prove it because the data doesn't exist. And so we're using AI in order to develop a platform that's very user-friendly, that can work the data, but in a way that is not so technical like a clinician might need. So we're going to have visualizations. Like my favorite visualization of women's health data right now is the Nature article that landed a couple years ago. And it's basically like a moving infographic. So you can sort by whatever demographic you're interested in, but then it will help you visualize it and understand it so that it's not just like you're drinking from a fire hose.
I love it. You mentioned Apple Watch data. What are some other kind of examples of types of data that you're collecting, and what's on your roadmap?
Yeah, so on the roadmap is absolutely wearables. Right now, like we that would just be an enormous build. It's just not something that we can foot at this time. So what we're doing is the daily app check-in. Our phase 2, so right now it's just text, or you can do like voice to text, but like it's just text input into a bot, and it's gonna just ask you some clarifying questions to make sure that the data is really rich, but that's about the extent of it. So it's not super fancy phase 1. Phase 2 is where we also start to get AI integrated into the reception so that we can use voice entry and video entry. So if you don't feel like you have the energy to text, like some days, what our focus groups have said, some days the disorder is just too bad. I can't, either I have rheumatoid arthritis and I can't use my thumbs, or I am so symptomatic with mental health that I just can't. The idea of typing is just so overwhelming. And so we want to offer voice or video, and AI is already at the cutting edge of interpreting emotion, facial flush, determining whether or not your symptoms are different day to day. So we think that that's going to be extremely valuable data and metadata to have included. So it's not just about personalized trends. It's also like this reception of underlying emotions or symptoms that AI can pick up on that maybe even you and I couldn't, which is wild.
Absolutely.
And then yes, getting to wearables, 1,000%, we got to do it.
And I understand that you're launching something soon. Can you tease what that is, and also give us a proper call to action here? What if people want to get involved? Who want to join you guys? Where should they go online? How should they find you and find Asterisk?
Yeah, join us, please. So that phase 1 app is launching, we hope, in April. The MVP is almost done. We're just waiting on a couple little pieces to fall into place. We have a clinician reviewing it right now to just make sure that we're collecting the right stuff when. And so if you want to get in on the ground floor, right now we'll be issuing points. That points will enter your profile. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to track it. Eventually, that's what will convert into the tokens. And so if you're interested in joining us, please do. We will only take women and verified women, which feels so sticky for me to say given what's happening in the United States. And I recognize that there are very real issues that we need to address as well. But at this point, we'll be using a DID in order to just verify what it says on your identification. So we can guarantee to clinicians this is a female-only data pool. And we don't have bots trying to mine the data and like trying to get tokens out of it when they're not real. So that's where we're at right now. Plenty of room to improve. We definitely invite you to join our wait list. That will be the beta, which will roll out either later Q2. What is today's date? I don't even know. How is this year going by so fast? So that'll roll out either later to Q2 and have the AI integration at the worst, then beginning Q3.
Awesome. And can you share a little more about how this fits kind of more broadly into the Vana ecosystem and kind of the other kind of cohorts of different DAOs out there, all with kind of different types of aims and objectives and audiences?
Yeah, so where you and I met, even like we got to talk with so many different data DAOs, and they're really ingenious application from the Reddit data DAO, right? Where you just upload your Reddit data and it immediately tokenizes for you. It's like mind boggling, all the way over to, as you were saying, a car DAO. There's the competitor to 23andMe. Like, so we have this kind of breadth. It's not just health data that is being collected on Vana, but it is empowering people to have ownership over their data and to monetize it, because we know it's valuable. We know it's hugely valuable. That's why Facebook refuses to charge you a fee, because your data is more valuable. If you engage with it more because you're not paying them, they're making so much money off of you. It's why Google can afford to give you free rides with their Waymo cars. Like, they don't need you to pay. If you say, yes, you can have my data, it is that valuable. And so Vana's philosophy is, shouldn't you be monetizing your own damn data? Which we at Asterisk agree, and we're taking a unique approach by working with generated data in real time as opposed to data that already exists, because we want that purity. But we're really happy to be part of the ecosystem that they specialize in this. I mean, it's great. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much for explaining all of that. I know you have a busy next few weeks ahead of you. Again, listeners, please, there'll be links to this in the show notes. Actually, what's the URL people should go to?
Oh my God, yes. asteriskdao.xyz.
Amazing. Best of luck to you and Asterisk. Thanks again, and I enjoyed.
Thank you. Me too. Cheers.
Thanks again to Veronica Kirin. But that is only half of our story here today. Next up, we have the promised conversation with Ryan Kuhel, the founder of DLP Labs, which is laser focused on data from your car. Ryan just launched the project a week or so before we recorded this conversation, and he's already seen explosive growth. So please enjoy my conversation with Ryan Kuhel, founder of DLP Labs. Ryan, welcome to the People's AI.
Great to be with you.
So let's jump right into it. What is DLP Labs, and what's your mission? What's your North Star?
Sure. DLP Labs is a data as a service business. We use token incentives to create commercially valuable data sets, reward the data contributors, allow the data contributors to participate in the data economy, and then we license or sell subscriptions to the data products. And in order to consume the data product, you consume the DLP token. So the entire purpose of DLP Labs is to allow people who generate data to participate in the data economy, not just the big tech companies that collect data. And our first product is vehicle telemetry data, enriched vehicle telemetry data, or car data plus.
All right, so dumb question. What does DLP stand for? Sorry if I missed that.
Not a dumb question. Actually, usually people don't ask what DLP stands for. We just jump in. So DLP stands for Data Liquidity Pool. So let's think about this in the context of blockchain. So let's say you want to farm a new chain that's launching in advance of their token launch. You might provide liquidity. Everybody wants liquidity. So that's usually a form of financial liquidity. So you're providing USD, USDC, USDT, Ether, BTC, whatever it is, to the chain. And by virtue of providing liquidity, you're then rewarded maybe with points that then convert at TGE to a token reward. So we view data as an asset, just like capital and labor. So you're providing liquidity to a liquidity pool. It's a data liquidity pool, and we're able to transform that data product as a team into an asset like capital and labor, and then allow individual data contributors to participate in the data economy. So we're basically, it's a play on words, but this is actually borrowed from Vana, but I really like the idea of data as an asset.
Absolutely. And let's jump into the primary product that you mentioned, so the one that I think you're best known for right now, car data. Talk a bit about specifically how that works. Like, what kind of car data people are selling or getting paid for, and what's also describe the growth you've seen in like literally days of launching is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, sure. So I'll explain like how essentially how it works, what data we're able to
Perfect.
collect, and then who's buying it. So
Perfect.
we partner with another team called Demo, or another blockchain, I guess, DePIN project called Demo. And what Demo does is they give your car a digital ID, and then they create an app store for your car where you can log into different apps with your car. So it's not just if you have a Ford, the Ford app, or Tesla, the Tesla app. It's like you can actually utilize different services because your car is like a computer on wheels. It's like a database on wheels, but especially some of these newer smart cars, they're collecting tremendous amount of data and interacting with all sorts of different services. So in order to connect to a smart city, like the kind of vision is if you want to connect to a smart city, if you're going to have a self-driving car interacting with smart city, with other cars, with other vehicles, with other services, you're going to want to have an identity layer and the ability to interface, but it's not necessarily in the incentive of any original equipment manufacturer to provide that identity layer, and they don't want to outsource this to Apple. So Demo is giving you the identity layer and the ability to log in. Our app, our value proposition within the context of that ecosystem is we give you a monetization app. So we give you the ability to participate, to contribute your data to a data union or a data liquidity pool. We sell subscriptions against that. You earn token points that will transfer into tokens at TGE. And then in order to consume the data on the demand side, they're going to be consuming the token as well, like an AWS credit. That's essentially how it works, like a lot of different deep networks. So we're the monetization layer. So you log in with your car. Within
Well, sorry. What does login with your car mechanically look like? I'm trying to imagine what that UI is. What is, do I tell my, how does the car log in? Does your Tesla have kind of a
yeah,
username?
sure. We enable you to log in with your car to share your vehicle permission. So right now, because I have a Tesla, Demo is connected to the Tesla telemetry API, which is basically like the API that has a lot of the data that Tesla is collecting. And now I'm sharing permissions with DLP Labs. And that's really it. Then you connect your wallet. If you have an internal combustion engine or an ICE car, Demo sells, and many other companies sell, hardware dongles that allow you to stream the telemetry to third parties for various purposes. So Demo sells that. So there are actually many different cars and fleets that are connected to our network since launching. Because we launched under a week ago, we got 5,000 different cars signed up that are not Teslas. So it's not just Teslas, but you do require a hardware dongle to do that. So some of the newer cars. So companies like Demo enables you to log in with your car, but also there are companies like Smart Car have the ability to log in with a car for various use cases. We love working with the Demo team because they're super aligned with kind of our philosophy of doing this within the blockchain space. And we have a great partnership with them. So they've been amazing partners to us. But that's essentially what it means to log in with your car. Now, what you asked, what kind of data is commercially valuable,
Right.
that can turn your basic, like when I like the analogy of you have a Bitcoin miner where you can earn BTC. Your car or other hardware sensors could be a data miner, and you could commercialize the data. So you have performance and health data of the car through the telemetry API, which is like, how is the car running? Then you have like movement data. So
Sorry, just a baseline before we get into kind of how it's monetized. As a baseline state of play, to give a sense of why and how its data is valuable. What is this data currently used for by the auto manufacturers the overall ecosystem? And then I'd love to get into how users benefit from that. Yeah.
Sure. So raw vehicle telemetry data, basically like car data, is used by the departments of transportation, the DOT, for road safety. So where are you driving? Where do they need signs?
Interesting.
Where do they need to book capacity? So that's why you ever seen those, you drive over like a bump and it's tracking how many people are driving through X location. So that's Department of Transportation. They also will consume vehicle telemetry data at massive scale. Battery companies. So let's say you're building software. We have 2 letters of intent to subscribe to the data set from battery companies. They want to understand if you have an electric vehicle, how your battery is getting degraded. Is it because it's hot? Is it cold? Are you stopping, starting, charging too much? And then they build software to make your battery more performant. We got interest to subscribe to the data set pre-launch from a company that builds charging stations. They basically want to know like when is your car running out of battery and there's no coverage in that area of charging stations. So that helps them plan the locations to build the charging stations. There are insurance companies that consume this data. If you've ever heard of Progressive Snapshot, it's like a really crappy way of doing that, where they have an app that you have on your phone that in theory is getting an understanding of your driving patterns. And if you have like good driving behavior, it could lower your rates. So insurance companies.
Sorry, so this is really helpful. So it's to synthesize I'm guessing too, the average person, the average driver might not even realize the extent to which the passive data their car is generating literally every mile they drive, that has value to a range of companies, right? I was imagining as just in my naive world, I'm thinking, okay, sure, I get that Tesla is hoovering up the data and they are factoring that into their own internal algorithms and they're using that to improve design in the future, right? That I was guessing. I'm guessing the average driver guesses that. But if I hear you right, Ryan, it's far greater than that. There's insurance companies, there's battery companies, there's the Department of Transportation. I'm sure I cut you off. I'm sure there are many other companies that are benefiting from your data, which most people don't even realize. And so now getting back to what you guys do, you're saying right now, car drivers are effectively giving that data up for free. It has massive value to other entities. And this is a way for owners of cars, drivers of cars, to get compensated for that data in presumably some privacy preserving way. That's the big picture like framework here. Is that right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I'll add two more
Please.
elements there that I think expand that can help people understand what our goal is here. So 100%. Just like in every facet of life and every piece of hardware you're using, your data is being monetized in one way or another, and you're not participating in economics of that data business. Cars are just one example of that. So I wouldn't like wag my finger specifically at the auto industry, but yes, that's true. We want to help anyone with a car, whether you're a Uber driver, a Lyft driver, you have a food truck, or you have a fleet of 10,000 cars, to be able to participate in the data economy. There's a lot of people in the world who don't have auto insurance. We want to be able to help insurance companies like underwrite affordable insurance for them and potentially even offset the cost of that. So what about if the revenue, let's say like the token incentives that you're generating by virtue of contributing to the network could like offset car insurance? That could be great if you're a taxi driver in, let's say, El Salvador, Panama. Like maybe they're not everybody. We have to think again. Not everybody's operating in the U.S. who's going to be leveraging this.
Right.
And then you think in the future, like self-driving cars, we want to be able to have our data train these self-driving cars so they're safer, because that will make the road safer. But also we could participate in the economics of that transaction. So for all of those reasons, the vision of DLP Labs and this driver product is to help drivers and fleets to be able to participate in this marketplace that already exists. One thing I would add as well is we're talking about raw telemetry API, which is basically the data your car produces. There's enrichments that we're going to be introducing to the data product to make it useful for specific use cases. Just as an example, the Tesla telemetry API does not include Tesla dash cam footage, which could in theory be useful for other companies that want to do self-driving. So that's like another potentially interesting data product. There's battery insurance. So Tesla, for example, like Tesla actually has their own insurance business because they're able to get the usage, the telemetry data from your car. Maybe we could potentially underwrite battery insurance for EVs as more and more EVs hit the road. So there are all sorts of interesting applications there.
Interesting. And you mentioned briefly the growth you've seen already. Talk a little more about when you guys launch and then what you've seen so far as actual adoption and
Sure.
how wild was it for you to see these like numbers overnight, just 2x, 5x, 10x?
Yeah. So I'll start by saying that I actually am a demo driver. So one of the unique things about this data project is my car is connected to the network. Any licensing deal we do, I will be commercializing my own data as part of the product. So this is a team sport. It's not like it's your data in DLP. Right. It's like it's our data. We're doing it as a team. So I was a demo user, and this was like an app I wanted. So I was engaged with the community, with the founders, like with the team. I've been earning with demo for a while. So what we did is we launched this app with Demo, this data union. We pushed it out in the Discord on X, all that stuff like that. And then there was a big kind of email blast, and we went from a few beta testers to 5,000 different drivers. We got a lot of feedback. I will say, like, the drivers are giving feedback about stuff they want to see in the app. They want to be able to connect with Vana. They want to earn their full points. There's things they want to see in the UX. So we've gotten like a lot of really good feedback about how to improve the experience. But fundamentally, 90% of people were able to sign up and do the whole experience. And we have 5,000 users now. We took our foot off the gas for a second. We're taking all the feedback we just got. I got like hundreds of messages across like Discord and X and email, all from different users. So I'm now like synthesizing that. We're creating like a roadmap to respond to the needs of the communities and the contributors. And then we're going to continue to do the push with Thema to get coverage, the full coverage of the network. There's about 100,000 drivers there. And then we're also going to onboard like Tesla rental car companies, taxi companies, ride sharing companies. So we'll be also going like directly to fleets. But I would say like the core community is like the demo drivers, who I'm actually one of them.
What would you say you learned most from that feedback and demo community? What was like the most important or two lessons you learned and that you're incorporating now?
The core community of demo drivers is very sophisticated when it comes to DPIN and token incentives and understanding mechanics. And they want, what we try to do is make it like a quick experience. It's like you do three things. They want more context around the points. They want to be able to interact actually with the Vana chain. They want more context on our interaction with Vana. So we went more of just like our MVP, like our first product that was like a working product. We made it easy to sign up, but I think providing more documentation is always good.
They're the power users. They're the power pro users.
These are power users that are not just using Demo. They're using Helium. They're using GeoNet. They're using like multiple DeepIn projects. Like they understand crypto incentives. They understand Web3 products. They understand points. They understand TGE. They want more context. They want to know how they can participate. They want to understand the referral mechanisms. Maybe what they want to sign their friends up. So the biggest things like documentation allow people to go deeper. People want to interact more with Vana. Some people were wanting to submit their transaction to Vana. So we want to make sure that everybody's able to do that. We got like 90% of the people able to do that. So those were some of the key learnings. But with anything, there's a few UX things that we definitely need to improve. But the cool thing is like everybody has a very strong opinion. And I read all the messages in Discord, all the emails. I'm responding to people. And it was also cool. I think another learning was just like people have lots of cars. So there's some people who sign up with one or two cars. And then there's someone's like, yeah, I just did 75. Oh, I just did 20. And it's, whoa, who are these like fleets? So there are fleets on Demo, and there are people who are like these power deep in use. And that we do want it to stick with the core people who like really understood the vision before expanding. Like if I was to do like a rental car company, let's say that has zero crypto exposure, right? Like they don't know, they've never bought Bitcoin. They don't know anything about DeepIn, never heard the word DeepIn. The way I would frame it to them maybe is, hey, there's going to be these like token incentives. If you want, you can get the token incentives. And this is like not 100% confirmed, but I was thinking about like how to make it easier for them. It's like what we could do potentially is like you could off ramp it to fiat. We'll build like some sort of bridge to off ramp to fiat. If you're a bridge, you might get like 20% less if you don't just get the raw token, if you don't just get the token. But if you've never interacted with like Web3 products and you want it to be easier, like that might be something that could, if they're like, this isn't our core business, we just make it easy for us and just put it in our bank account. Sure, we could do that. But I think the core is like these Web3 power users who really understand DeepIn, and they're giving us like really good feedback. One dude told me, he's like, hey, you're going on like podcasts. Like we want you in the Discord, like addressing these. And I'm like, that's good feedback. Like so every day I try to go in the Discord. I try to respond to every single person. And like the feedback is they want it to work. Like they want to earn with Demo. They want to see Demo grow. So it's been really cool to get the responses from the community.
Love it. And I'm guessing though, Ryan, that your end goal is about empowering more than just the current Demo community. Not to knock them, but the Demo community, obviously highly engaged. They get this, they understand this, extremely sophisticated. But that is in a big grand scheme of things, a pretty tiny slice of the total amount of like smart car owners in the world, right? So for this to really scale, I'm guessing you want to reach the normies who are not thinking about token structure right now? Like let me know if I'm wrong on that, but assuming that's the
No,
case,
100%.
what are the challenges to overcome to get this to jump beyond the crypto land and demo land to reach the normies? And how do you think that might happen down the road?
Yeah, the first step is you build for the power users, which is I view myself as like a power user, like I'm a
Yep.
deep end power user, and like I am a demo driver, and like I need it to work for me, it needed to work for my fiance is connected to the network, her car is connected to the network, and then all the demo drivers who are like deep end power users. If it doesn't work for them, it's not going to work for anybody else. So like first make everything work for them. Make
Yep.
sure take all of their synthesize all the feedback, introduce into the roadmap, make sure everyone's like up and running. And there's always things that can be improved. But I would say like first build a really strong foundation with the power users before you extend out. Then to extend out, like what I would probably abstract is I'm not going to make people get a wallet unless they want. I'll be like, hey, there's two options to this. You can do this the Web3, you could do it the crypto way. It's like the way I would present it. Let's say I'm talking to a car rental company, like someone who has like a fleet of 1,000 cars. I'm like, hey, basically you've heard of Bitcoin, right? So there's this thing called Bitcoin mining. Whereas if you have this hardware device, this ASIC, application specific integrated circuit, you can like propose block, you can basically update this ledger and make it more secure, and you get paid for just like running this piece of hardware. Unlike your car, we basically turn your car into a Bitcoin miner, but not for the BTC token, not for the Bitcoin token, for the DLP Labs token. And you have to access the data set, you have to consume the token too. So we're basically turning your car to like a data miner, and you can earn for your fleet. I'm contributing to the data sets. So we're doing use cases that are like R&D focused, like improving AI, like self-driving cars and battery tech, and like where to put EV chargers and things like that. So it's like these are use cases that are beneficial, for society. Again, because like I'm doing this with my car, so I'm not going to do anything that's going to like mess us up. And you can get like the raw, like if you view, I don't know if you view it, like if you want to use the analogy of a stock or like a credit card point, you can get the credit card point, which happens to live on this thing called the blockchain. Don't worry about it. Or we'll integrate with I'm an advisor to a company called Hi-Fi Bridge. We'll integrate with this like fiat to crypto on-ramp and off-ramp service, and it can just hit your account, although you're not going to get the full payment of it because we're basically handling that part for you. And that's what I'm starting to see that with like D-Charge, which is like an EV charging company that does this. I don't think everyone's going to want to hold crypto early, but I think people are like, some people will, some people are like, okay, yeah, sure. I have a wallet. Oh, I have a Coinbase wallet. So how do I do it? Some people are like, I don't want to touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. Just make it work for me and give me the money, and then I'll do it. So that's my theory of how you onboard. You have to start with the core, and then you expand to them. You use the analogy of a Bitcoin miner. And then there are companies that are like more Web3 native, like especially in Southeast Asia. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but we basically spoke to a ride-sharing company that's like a competitor to Lyft and Uber. And they already do stuff with stablecoins. So I think that some companies will be like, yeah, sure, we'll just send it to our wallet. I also think as our industry evolves, like this will become less of a challenge. But I'm totally fine to abstract away the complexity for a fleet. If you're an individual driver, just so we can like, it will probably be like the crypto native people at first. Although again, I think like emerging economies in LATAM, Southeast Asia, I think people will be able to be more comfortable earning with some sort of crypto wallet solution. So maybe in the United States that'll be an issue in the short term, but I don't see that as like a fundamental challenge for the business. It's like a UX challenge that we can solve. So that's how I'm viewing it right now.
Cool. As we wind down, talk a little more about how this fits into the wider Vana ecosystem, the overall family of data DAOs. And you mentioned that one feedback you got from the core community is they wanted to see more integration with Vana. Talk a little more about that.
Yeah, the most basic level, everybody wants to be able to submit transactions to Vana to max their points to farm our tokens. So, and I want you to. So like I want everybody else to be able to do that. So that was the most basic feedback. They also want to learn more about Vana and how everything fits together. The way I see this is like the broader vision, I think, is that this is a much more ethical way of sourcing data than not informed consent of drivers who want to participate in the data economy. Like you don't have to, but if you inform consent, if you want to, is much better than like some car company getting consent through some roundabout way and not really, you don't know what's going on with your data. And then like your car is participating in the data economy without you kind of thing. So I think that AI developers, when I think about GDPR, CCPA, the data regulatory environment, and the regulation that's going to be enforced on AI, you're going to have to source your data from certain data. You're going to certain ways to procure data are going to be better or preferable to others. So on Vana, I think a lot of developers in the future are going to come to Vana where users are providing informed consent to contribute and participate in the data economy, and they're going to train their self-driving cars, insurance models, whatever it is, with data from the Vana ecosystem. So I think that's really exciting, like down the road, to be able to, in a privacy safe way, train like self-driving cars and things like that. In the shorter term, like
sorry, just to be clear, so the idea that the kind of partly enabled by the DLP token and the infrastructure you're building is the idea of this kind of data union, more or less, that you're creating, people are willingly engaging in to get compensated for data. That infrastructure can eventually snap into place with the Vana ecosystem to help provide a pool of ethically sourced data that AI developing companies can purchase and use to train for better AI. Is that a fair summary of the big picture?
Yeah, that was a very good summary. And I think that kind of evolves in the same way that data as a service as a business model is evolving. And we often reference Reddit historically has been an advertising company. In their S1 filing, they did $300 million data licensing deal to train OpenAI, Google Bard with the user-generated content. Obviously, like Reddit users like myself didn't participate in the data economy. So data as a service, if you have hardware sensors, financial data, health data, I mean, 23andMe sold data to pharmaceutical companies without people being able to. So data as a service already exists, but I think this industry is going to grow more and more sophisticated, and that represents an opportunity for people who participate in the data economy to get involved. And Vana is going to play a great role in that. And our vision at DLP Labs is like equally ambitious in that we want to build commercially valuable data sets where the contributors participate in the economics of the data set. So we're starting with vehicle telemetry. We're going to grow and enrich this data product, and then we're going to look at others in the future leveraging Vana's stack. So like Vana is the L1 for data and like building this interface for AI developers to train on models, and we're identifying commercially valuable data sets. We're doing a data valuation where we can learn the total subscription value of enriched vehicle telemetry data beyond just talking to individual customers, and you can actually underwrite a loan against that data set. So we're doing more of like the bottoms up approach to the data business.
Love it. And last question for you. You mentioned that you were a driver yourself and are a driver and an active member of Demo. Talk a little more about what brought you here and then what you've learned from that so far and kind of what you're excited to see going forward.
Yeah, I mean, my professional career has been marked with different instances where I saw data driving a lot of enterprise value, as we've all seen. I worked at LinkedIn before the Microsoft acquisition. Microsoft acquired LinkedIn for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons was, I think at the time it was 500 million resumes, and not just like your resume, but like your professional network. So like the data is like professional data, which is super valuable for recruiting, for sales, and for business to business advertising, which I was involved in. Then I moved over to Facebook, where there was a huge challenge at Meta, Facebook, Instagram with regard to data, because Google was deprecating web cookies and Apple was changing their iOS policies, essentially strangling Meta for data that's used to personalize advertising at scale. So we were able to work on partnerships in compliance with GDPR and CCPA, of course, all the data regulation with the server-side API, conversions API, to create a data pipe where companies could be able to have a pipe directly to Facebook and circumvent Apple and Google, which protected like billions of dollars of advertising. And basically I just saw how everyone was like, holy shit, this is really important. And then I saw the frustration with these big tech companies where it's like, this advertising business is so big. I'm a big Instagram creator. Why am I not participating in the economics of this ads business? And like token incentives represented to me the opportunity to build apps and services where you participate in the economics of the service, potentially have governance of the service. So it's like a super interesting toolbox. Like it's a super interesting set of tools you could use to build apps and services that we all use. So I became drawn to the crypto industry for that reason. And then because of the regulatory environment, I don't feel like there was the flexibility to build these types of applications and services. But now we're seeing like the rise of the 1-2 punch of like DePIN and stablecoins. And I think there's going to be a lot more of this in the future. And we're already starting to see it.
Awesome. Great. Hopeful note to end on. Love it. Ryan, thanks so much. Congrats on your stunning growth out of the gate. Be following you guys with great excitement. So congrats again. We'll be in touch.
Cheers. Great chatting with you.
Well, there you have it. Thanks again to both Veronica Kirin, founder of Asterisk DAO, and Ryan Kuhel, the founder of DLP Labs. Both projects are part of the broader Vana ecosystem, and Vana's mission is to create user-owned AI through user-owned data. And I think these two case studies, if you will, are good, concrete examples of how this can actually happen. How we're well beyond the whiteboard stage and things are actually in motion. Links to both of these projects are in the show notes. And thank you to you, dear listener. If this is your first time at The People's AI, please subscribe, rate it 5 stars, send to a friend, all that good stuff. Thanks again, and see you next time.